The silver ship moved through space like a ghost. It was huge, bigger than 10 football fields put together. Inside the ship, Commander Veltar looked at the screens in front of him. His blue skin glowed softly in the dim light. He had 4 arms, and eyes that could see things humans could not see. "Commander," said his aide, a young Zephyrian named Kexino, "we found something new." Veltar turned his head. His people, the Zephyrians, had been watching the galaxy for thousands of years. They looked for new species that might join their great empire. Most of the time, they found nothing interesting. "Show me," Veltar said. The main screen lit up. It showed a small blue and green planet far away from the center of the galaxy. The planet had 1 moon and orbited a yellow star. It looked peaceful and quiet. "Energy readings are strange, Commander," Kexino said. "The creatures on this world are using fire to push metal objects into space." Veltar laughed. It was a sound like wind chimes. "Fire? How basic. What do they call their world?" "The signals say they call it Earth," Kexino replied. "The species calls itself humans." Meanwhile, billions of miles away, Jake Morrison sat at his desk inside a metal ship. The ship was called the USS Defender. Jake wore a blue uniform with shiny buttons. He had brown hair and tired eyes from working long hours. Jake was listening to radio signals from deep space. Most of the time, he heard nothing but static. Sometimes he heard signals from other human ships. But today was different. His headphones crackled with a sound he had never heard before. It was not static. It was not from any human ship. The sound was organized, like a language, but unlike any language on Earth. "Captain Grant," Jake called out. "You need to hear this." "Captain Lisa." Grant walked over to Jake's station. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had been in space for 15 years and had seen many strange things, but she had never heard sounds like this. "Play it again," she said. Jake pressed a button. The strange sounds filled the air around them. They rose and fell like music, but they carried information. Both Jake and Captain Grant knew they were listening to something important. "How long have you been getting this signal?" Captain Grant asked. "About 10 minutes, Jake said. It's coming from somewhere past Jupiter." Captain Grant felt her heart beat faster. For years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they might have an answer. "Record everything," she told Jake, "and send a message to Earth. Command, tell them we may have found something big." Back on the Zephyrian ship, Commander Veltar was reading reports about the humans. His people had been watching Earth for 3 months now. They had hidden ships all around the human solar system. "These creatures are interesting," Veltar said to his officers. "They fight each other often. They have many different groups on their planet, but they are starting to work together to explore space." "Should we contact them, Commander?" asked another officer. "Not yet," Veltar said. "Let us watch them more. They are still very primitive. Their ships are made of simple metal. They use explosions to move through space. They cannot even travel faster than light." Veltar pulled up more information on his screen. The humans had built several ships and sent them to other planets in their solar system. The ships were slow and clumsy compared to Zephyrian technology. "Look at this," Veltar said, pointing at the screen. "They carry weapons on their exploration." "Ships. What kind of species brings guns to explore space?" The other Zephyrians made sounds of amusement. Their own ships carried advanced energy weapons, but only for protection against space pirates. The idea of arming exploration vessels seemed silly to them. On Earth, Admiral Peter Hayes sat in a meeting room deep underground. Around the table sat generals, scientists, and engineers. They were all looking at pictures of human spaceships. "We need more ships," Admiral Hayes said, "and we need them to be stronger." Dr. Amy Carter, a scientist with gray hair and thick glasses, stood up. "Admiral, I think I have found a way to make our ships much faster. If we use fusion power instead of chemical rockets, we can reach other star systems." "How long will it take?" Admiral Hayes asked. 6 months to build the first fusion engine," Dr. Carter said. "But once we have it, we can build ships that travel to nearby stars in just a few years instead of hundreds of years." Admiral Hayes nodded. "Do it. And make sure the new ships can defend themselves. Something tells me we are not alone out here." Commander Veltar watched the humans work on their new technology. He was impressed by how quickly they learned and built new things. Most species took thousands of years to develop space travel. Humans had done it in less than 100 years. "They are fast learners," he told his aide. "But they are still no threat to us. Our ships are 10 times faster than theirs. Our weapons are 1,000 times more powerful. Our shields can stop anything they might throw at us." Veltar made note in his report to send back to the Zephyrian High Council. He wrote that humans were an interesting species that might one day join the galactic community. But for now, they were like children playing with toys. He had no idea how wrong he was. Captain Grant's ship, the USS Defender, continued to patrol the outer edges of the solar system. Jake Morrison kept listening to the strange signals. Every day, he heard more of them. The signals were getting stronger, which meant they were getting closer. "Captain," Jake said one morning, "I think whoever is sending these signals is moving toward Earth." Captain Grant felt a chill run down her back. "How fast are they moving?" "I can't tell exactly," Jake said. "But if I'm right, they could be here in a few weeks." Captain Grant made a decision that would change everything. Send a message to all human ships. Tell them to return to Earth immediately. And send a priority message to Admiral Hayes. Tell him we may have visitors soon. As the USS Defender turned toward home, neither Captain Grant nor Jake Morrison knew that alien eyes were watching their every move. The Zephyrians thought they understood humans completely. They thought humans were weak and primitive. Soon, they would learn the truth about what happens when you underestimate the human race. 3 months had passed since the first alien signals were detected. In the great halls of the Zephyrian High Council, Commander Veltar stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The council chamber was enormous, with walls made of crystal that glowed with soft light. General Crixton, the head of all Zephyrian military forces, looked at the reports about humans. He was an old warrior with scars across his face and arms. He had fought in 100 battles across the galaxy. "So these humans think they can explore space with their little metal ships," General Crixton said. His voice was deep and full of authority. "How amusing." "They are making progress, General," Commander Veltar said. "They have built new ships with better engines. Some of their vessels can now travel between planets in their solar system much faster than before, still using fire to push themselves." "Through space, I assume?" asked Counselor Murphek, an ancient Zephyrian with silver skin. "Yes, Counselor. They burn fuel to create thrust. Very primitive compared to our gravity manipulation drives." General Crixton laughed. "And their weapons? Do they still throw metal rocks at each other?" "Essentially, yes," Veltar replied. "They fire small metal projectiles at very high speeds. They also use explosive warheads. Nothing that could threaten our energy shields." The council members made sounds of amusement. To them, human technology was like watching children play with sticks and stones. "Continue watching them," General Crixton ordered. "If they try to leave their solar system, we will guide them back home gently. We don't want them getting lost in space." On Earth, things were very different. In a secret military base hidden in the mountains of Colorado, General Paul Davis was not laughing. He was worried. Very worried. "Show me the new ship designs," he told his engineers. The lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a massive ship, twice the size of anything humans had built before. The ship was covered in armor plating and hide, bristled with weapons. Captain Beth Turner studied the hologram carefully. She was young for a starship captain, only 35 years old. She had bright red hair and green eyes that missed nothing. She had been chosen to command humanity's first real warship, the U.E.'s Pathfinder, Dr. Carl Watson announced. "Our most advanced vessel yet." Dr. Watson was a small man with wild hair, who always seemed excited about his work. He had designed most of the weapon systems for the new human fleet. "Tell me about the weapons," Captain Turner said. "Gladly," Dr. Watson replied. "We have mounted 20 main cannons that can fire armor-piercing shells at incredible speeds. Each shell weighs as much as a car and moves at 3,000 meters per second. That seems like a lot of firepower for an exploration ship," General Davis noted. "Sir, with respect, this is not an exploration ship anymore," Captain Turner said. "Something is out there watching us. We need to be ready for anything." Dr. Watson continued his presentation. "We also have missile systems, laser weapons for close combat, and the thickest armor ever put on a human vessel. The Pathfinder can take hits that would destroy a city and keep fighting." Meanwhile, the Zephyrians continued their surveillance. Commander Veltar's ship, the Void Watcher, hung invisible near Jupiter. Its advanced cloaking technology made it impossible for human sensors to detect. "The humans are building larger ships," reported Lieutenant Quinville, Veltar's intelligence. "Officer." "How much larger?" Veltar asked. "About twice the size of their previous vessels, and they are installing many more weapons." Veltar looked at the data on his screen. The new human ships did carry more weapons than before, but they were still the same basic technology. Metal projectiles fired by chemical explosions, energy shields that could barely stop space debris. "They seem to think more weapons will make them stronger," Veltar observed. "They don't understand that advanced technology makes weapons obsolete. Our single particle beam can destroy their entire ship with one shot." What Veltar didn't understand was that humans had a very different philosophy about weapons and warfare. While the Zephyrians believed in precise, efficient weapons that could destroy targets with minimal energy, humans believed in overwhelming firepower. 6 months after the first alien signals, the U.E.S. Pathfinder was ready for its maiden voyage. Captain Turner stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. Her crew of 200 humans was the best Earth had to offer. "All stations report ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, her weapons officer. Sam was a young man from Texas, who had grown up hunting and understood weapons better than most people. "Engineering reports all systems green," called out engineer Kate Phillips. Kate was known throughout the fleet as the best ship engineer alive. She had designed new armor that could survive hits from nuclear weapons. "Take us out, Mr. Collins," Captain Turner ordered. Pilot Roy Collins was an experienced test pilot who had flown everything from fighter jets to space shuttles. His hands moved smoothly over the controls as he guided the massive ship away from Earth. The Pathfinder's destination was Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to Earth. The journey would take 2 years, but it would prove that humans could travel to other star systems. Commander Veltar watched the human ship leave Earth's orbit. He was impressed despite himself. The ship moved smoothly through space, and its crew seemed to know what they were doing. "Should we intercept them, Commander?" asked Lieutenant Quinville. "Not yet. Let them travel for a while. When they get close to the edge of their solar system, we will contact them. We'll explain that space travel is dangerous and suggest they return home for their own safety." Veltar was confident this would work. In his experience, primitive species usually listened. to more advanced civilizations. The humans would see Zephyrian technology and realize they were outmatched. "Sir," Quinville said, "I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the human ship." "What kind of signatures?" "I'm not sure. Their fusion reactor is producing much, more power than our models predicted. And there are energy readings I don't recognize." Veltar frowned. This was unexpected. "Continue monitoring. If they have developed new technology, we need to know about it." Back on the Pathfinder, Engineer Kate Phillips was working in the engine room. She had made several improvements to the fusion reactor that weren't in the official plans. The reactor was now producing 30% more power than designed. "Kate, why is the reactor running so hot?" Captain Turner asked over the communication system. "Just some modifications, Captain," Kate replied. "Don't worry. It's all under control. We'll have extra power for weapons and shields when we need it." Dr. Watson had also made secret improvements to the weapon systems. The main cannons could now fire shells at 4,000 meters per second instead of 3,000. The missiles carried warheads twice as powerful as originally planned. "Captain Turner," Dr. Watson said, "I've been thinking about our potential alien visitors. What about them? If they have better technology than us, they probably think we're no threat. That might be an advantage." Captain Turner understood what he meant. If they underestimate us, we might surprise them. "Exactly. Our weapons may be primitive compared to theirs, but that doesn't mean they're not effective. Sometimes simple and reliable beats complex and advanced." The Pathfinder continued toward the edge of the solar system. Behind them, invisible to human sensors, Commander Veltar's ship followed at a safe distance. Neither side knew that their first meeting was only days away. The Zephyrians expected to easily convince the humans to return home. The humans were prepared for the possibility that they might have to fight for their right to explore space. Both sides were about to be surprised by what would happen next. The order came directly from the Zephyrian High Council. Commander Veltar read it 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. He was to establish a gentle guidance blockade around the human ship before it could leave the solar system. "Prepare 3 patrol vessels," Veltar told his officers. "We will show the humans our ships and politely ask them to return home. They should understand that they are not ready for deep space travel." Lieutenant Quinville looked worried. "Commander, the human ship is heavily armed. Perhaps we should bring more vessels?" Veltar waved a hand dismissively. 3 ships are more than enough. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. This will be a simple diplomatic contact, not a battle." The 3 Zephyrian patrol ships moved into position near the edge of the solar system. Each ship was sleek and beautiful, shaped like a blade with smooth curves. They were powered by technology that could bend space itself. On the U-East Pathfinder, Captain Turner was reviewing star charts when the alarms began to sound. "Captain, to the bridge," came the urgent announcement. Captain Turner ran to the bridge where she found her crew staring at the main screen. 3 silver ships hung in space directly in front of them. The ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. They seemed to glow with their own light. "How did they get there?" Captain Turner asked. "They just appeared, Captain," said Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez. "Our sensors detected nothing until they were right in front of us." Engineer Kate Phillips was working frantically at her station. "Captain, I'm reading energy signatures off the charts. These ships are using technology we don't understand." Captain Turner felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice calm. "Open a communication channel. All frequencies." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at Commander Veltar. His blue skin and 4 arms made it clear that humans were not alone in the universe. "Greetings, humans of Earth," Veltar said in perfect English. "I am Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire. We have been watching your progress with great interest. This is Captain Turner of the UE's Pathfinder, she replied. We are on a peaceful exploration mission. Veltar smiled, showing teeth that sparkled like diamonds. We understand your curiosity about space, Captain Turner. However, the galaxy can be dangerous for young species like yours. We suggest you return to your home world until you are more prepared for interstellar travel. Captain Turner felt anger rising in her chest. We appreciate your concern, Commander, but we have the right to explore space freely. Of course you do, Veltar said smoothly. But for your own safety, we must insist that you return home. Our ships will escort you back to ensure no harm comes to you. On the Pathfinder's bridge, the crew exchanged glances. Dr. Watson stepped forward. Captain, they're treating us like children. I noticed, Captain Turner said quietly. Then, louder, Commander Veltar, we respectfully decline your escort. We will continue our mission. Veltar's expression changed slightly. I'm afraid that is not an option, Captain. Please prepare to be taken under tow. Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered, our weapons are locked and ready. Captain Turner made a decision that would change galactic history. Commander Veltar, if you attempt to interfere with our mission, we will consider it an act of aggression. Veltar laughed, the sound like wind chimes. Captain, you must understand, your primitive weapons cannot harm our vessels. Our shields can absorb any attack you might attempt. We'll see about that, Captain Turner said. Mr. Rodriguez, target. The lead ship, full spread of main cannons. Weapons locked, Captain, Rodriguez replied. Fire. What happened next shocked everyone on both sides. The Pathfinder's 20 main cannons erupted simultaneously. Each cannon fired a shell, weighing 2 tons at 4,000 meters per second. The shells were made of depleted uranium, the hardest metal humans could produce. Commander Veltar watched the projectiles approach his ship. He was not worried. Zephyrian shields had never been penetrated by primitive kinetic weapons. The shells would bounce off harmlessly. The first shell hit the Void Watcher's shield and passed right through it. The shield, designed to stop energy, weapons, and small space debris, offered no resistance to the massive, fast-moving projectile. The shell punched through the ship's hull like it was made of paper. Alarms screamed throughout the Zephyrian vessel as atmosphere rushed out into space. Impossible, Veltar shouted. Raise secondary shields. Evasive maneuvers. But it was too late. 19 more shells followed the first. Each one tore through the Zephyrian ship, destroying systems and causing massive damage. Within seconds, the Void Watcher was dead in space, leaking air and sparking with electrical fires. Commander, we've lost main power, reported a Zephyrian officer. Hull breaches on 7 decks, life support failing. Veltar could not believe. What had happened? How could primitive kinetic weapons defeat advanced Zephyrian technology? It was supposed to be impossible. On the other 2 Zephyrian ships, the commanders watched in horror as their flagship was crippled. They had never seen anything like this before. Open fire on the human vessel, ordered Captain Nexmar from the second ship. Maximum power. Energy beams lanced out from the Zephyrian ships, striking the Pathfinder's hull. The beams were designed to overload enemy shields and disable their systems cleanly and efficiently. The energy struck the Pathfinder's armor, plating, and was absorbed harmlessly. Engineer Kate Phillips had designed the armor using lessons learned from nuclear weapons testing. It could absorb tremendous amounts of energy without damage. Their weapons aren't penetrating our armor, Kate reported with amazement. The energy is being distributed across the entire hull. Return fire, Captain Turner ordered. All weapons. This time, the Pathfinder unleashed everything it had. Main cannons, missile batteries, and laser weapons all fired at once. The 2 Remaining Zephyrian ships tried to evade, but they were not built for the kind of violent maneuvering required to dodge human weapons. The second Zephyrian ship took a direct hit from 6 shells and 3 missiles. Its elegant hull cracked like an eggshell. The third ship tried to retreat, but Lieutenant Rodriguez tracked it with the ship's laser systems. "Got you," Rodriguez muttered as he triggered the lasers. The beams, designed for close-range combat, carved deep cuts in the Zephyrian ship's hull. Within minutes, all 3 Zephyrian vessels were disabled or destroyed. Commander Veltar's ship was barely holding together. The other 2 ships were drifting wrecks. "Commander," Quinville said weakly, "we need to abandon ship." Veltar stared at the human vessel on his screen. The Pathfinder showed no damage at all. It hung in space like a predator, its weapons still trained on his crippled ship. How? Veltar asked himself. How did they do this? Captain Turner opened a communication channel to the damaged Zephyrian ship. "Commander Veltar, do you require assistance?" Veltar's pride was shattered, but he was not stupid. His crew was dying, and the human captain was offering to help. "Yes," he said quietly. "We accept your assistance. Mr. Collins, take us alongside." "Their ship," Captain Turner ordered. "Dr. Watson, prepare rescue teams. Kate, make sure our shields can extend around both ships." As the human rescue teams worked to save Zephyrian lives, Veltar realized that everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. They were not primitive. They were not weak. They were warriors who had learned to fight by fighting each other. For thousands of years. "Captain Turner," Veltar said over the communication system, "I must ask, how did your weapons penetrate our shields?" Captain Turner looked puzzled. "Your shields stopped energy weapons, but they didn't stop physical objects. We've been fighting wars with guns and bullets for hundreds of years. We know how to make things that punch through armor." Veltar finally understood. The Zephyrians had developed beyond physical weapons long ago. They had forgotten that sometimes the simplest solution was the most effective one. Humans had never stopped perfecting the art of throwing rocks. They had just learned to throw them much harder and much faster. "Commander," Captain Turner continued, "we don't want to be your enemies. But we also won't be treated like children. We have the right to explore space." Veltar nodded slowly. "I believe the High Council needs to hear about this immediately." As rescue operations continued, both sides realized that first contact had not gone as anyone expected. The humans had proven they were not as helpless as they appeared. The Zephyrians had learned that advanced technology could be defeated by determination and superior tactics. The galaxy was about to change, and everyone would have to adjust to the new reality where humans were players, not observers. The emergency council meeting was called within hours of receiving Commander Veltar's report. In the great crystal halls of the Zephyrian home world, the High Council gathered for the first time in 50 years to discuss a military crisis. General Crixton stood before the assembled leaders, his face grim. 3 of his ships had been destroyed by a single human vessel. It was the first military defeat the Zephyrian Empire had suffered in over 3 centuries. "Explain to me again how this happened," demanded Elder Mortaxen, the oldest member of the council. "The humans use kinetic weapons, Elder," General Crixton replied. "Solid projectiles fired at extremely high velocities. Our shields were designed to stop energy weapons and small debris. They are useless against large, dense objects moving at several thousand meters per second." Councillor Murthick leaned forward in his chair. "But their technology is primitive. How can primitive weapons be so effective?" "Because we forgot something important," General Crixton said. "We evolved beyond physical weapons so long ago that we never developed defenses against them. The humans never stopped improving their ability to throw things at each other." The council members spoke in worried whispers. For millennia, the Zephyrian Empire had been the dominant military power in the galaxy. Their elegant energy weapons and advanced shields had made them nearly invincible. What do our scientists say about human technology? Asked Elder Mortaxon. General Crixton activated a holographic display. It showed technical readouts of the human ship that had defeated their patrol. The human vessel carries redundant weapon systems, he explained. Where we might install one precise energy cannon, they install 20 kinetic weapons. Where we use lightweight hulls with energy shielding, they use thick armor plating that can absorb massive amounts of damage. It seems wasteful, observed Counselor Murthick. Yes, but also effective, General Crixton replied. Their ship can continue fighting even after taking damage that would disable one of our vessels. On Earth, Admiral Susan Clark was coordinating humanity's response to the alien encounter. She sat in a war room deep beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by screens showing information from across the solar system. How many ships do we have ready for combat? She asked. General Davis consulted his tablet. 12 vessels like the Pathfinder, plus 30 smaller ships. All are being upgraded with the lessons learned from Captain Turner's encounter. Dr. Tony Martinez, the lead weapons engineer, stood up to present his report. Admiral, we've analyzed the alien energy weapons. They're incredibly advanced, but they seem designed for precise strikes rather than overwhelming force. What does that mean for us? Admiral Clark asked. It means our approach to warfare is completely different from theirs, Dr. Martinez explained. They use surgical strikes. We use overwhelming firepower. Their weapons are elegant and efficient. Ours are crude but devastatingly effective. Admiral Clark nodded. Continue upgrading our ships. If more aliens come, I want to be ready. Captain Alan Foster was preparing his ship, the UE's Vengeance, for a patrol mission. Foster was a veteran officer who had served in several Earth conflicts. Before joining the Space Fleet, he understood combat better than most. Sir, said his weapons officer, Lieutenant Danny Wright, the new missile systems are online. Each missile carries a warhead equivalent to a small nuclear bomb. Good, Captain Foster replied. And the railguns? Installed and tested, sir. We can now fire projectiles at 8,000 meters per second. Engineer Sarah Kim, who had worked with Kate Phillips on the armor designs, reported from the engineering. Beck, Captain, the new armor plating is twice as thick as the original design. We can take hits from their energy weapons all day long. Captain Foster smiled grimly. Let's hope we don't have to. Meanwhile, Commander Veltar was recovering from his injuries in a medical facility on the Zephyrian home world. His ship had been completely destroyed, and half his crew had been killed. The experience had changed his understanding of warfare forever. Commander, said his aide, Kexino, the High Council wants to see your full report. Veltar looked out the window at the peaceful Zephyrian city below. His people had known peace for so long that they had forgotten what real war looked like. Tell the Council that the humans are not like any species we have encountered before. Veltar said, they have turned warfare into a science. Every weapon, every defensive system, every tactical doctrine has been tested in actual combat against their own kind. But surely our superior technology gives us an advantage? Kexno asked. Veltar shook his head. Technology alone is not enough. The humans understand something we forgot long ago. In war, the side that can absorb more punishment and keep fighting usually wins. The first test of human military doctrine came 2 weeks later. A Zephyrian reconnaissance fleet, sent to study human capabilities, encountered Captain Foster's ship near Mars. The Zephyrian commander, Captain Yextron, was confident in his mission. He commanded 5 advanced scout ships, each equipped with the latest energy weapons and reinforced shields designed to stop kinetic projectiles. "Human vessel," Captain Yexthran transmitted. "You are ordered to stand down and prepare to be boarded." Captain Foster's reply was immediate. "Alien vessel, you are in human space. Leave immediately or face the consequences." "Your threats are meaningless," Yexthran replied. "We have analyzed your weapons. Our new shields can stop your primitive projectiles." "We'll see about that," Captain Foster said. All weapons opened fire. The UE's vengeance unleashed hell. Its new railguns fired projectiles at incredible speeds. Its missile batteries launched dozens of nuclear-tipped warheads. Its laser systems carved through space like burning swords. The Zephyrian ships tried to evade, but Captain Foster had studied their tactics from the previous engagement. He anticipated their moves and adjusted his fire accordingly. The first Zephyrian ship took a railgun projectile directly to its main power core. The projectile, moving at 8,000 meters per second, punched through the reinforced shields like they were made of tissue paper. The ship exploded in a ball of energy. "Impossible!" Captain Yexthron shouted. "Our shields should have stopped that." But the human attack was just beginning. Nuclear missiles detonated all around the remaining Zephyrian ships. The explosions created electromagnetic pulses that disrupted their electronics. Laser beams followed, cutting deep into their hulls. Within minutes, 4 of the 5 Zephyrian ships were destroyed. Captain Yexthron's vessel was badly damaged and leaking atmosphere. "Human Captain," he transmitted weakly, "we surrender." Captain Foster held his fire. "Alien vessel, this is your only warning. Stay out of human space. Next time, we won't show mercy." As the surviving Zephyrian ship limped away, Captain Foster made his report to Admiral Clark. "Admiral, the aliens have improved their shields, but it doesn't matter. Our weapons are too powerful and too fast for any defense they can build." Admiral Clark felt a mixture of pride and concern. Humanity was proving itself in combat, but they were also making powerful enemies. "Captain, how do you think they'll respond to this defeat?" "They'll send more ships, Admiral. Bigger ones with better weapons. But I don't think they understand what they're up against." Captain Foster was right. In the Zephyrian High Council chambers, General Crixton was requesting permission to deploy the Imperial fleet. "How many ships do you want?" asked Elder Mortaxin. 50 vessels, Elder. Our most advanced warships with the best crews in the Empire." "That seems excessive for fighting one primitive species." General Crixton's expression was grave. "Elder, these humans are not primitive. They are the most dangerous military force we have ever encountered. They don't fight to win battles. They fight to completely destroy their enemies." The Council voted to approve the deployment. 50 Zephyrian warships would travel to human space and end the threat once and for all. But as the alien fleet prepared for battle, human shipyards were working around the clock. Admiral Clark had ordered the construction of 100 new warships, each more powerful than the last. The stage was set for the largest space battle in galactic history. Neither side knew it yet, but the outcome would determine whether humanity would take its place among the stars or be driven back to its home. World forever. The war between two completely different approaches to combat was about to begin. The Zephyrian Imperial fleet was the most beautiful and deadly force ever assembled. 50 warships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming silver against the black of space. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, equipped with weapons that could destroy planets. Admiral Zixthyra commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Star of Dominion. He was the greatest military mind in Zephyrian history, a warrior who had never lost a battle in 4 centuries of service. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "we are approaching the human home system. Our scouts report at least 60 human vessels waiting for us." "Only 60? Admiral Zexthera smiled. They are either very brave or very foolish. What the Zephyrian admiral didn't know was that Admiral Susan Clark had been preparing for this moment for months. The human fleet that waited near Jupiter was not just 60 ships. It was 60 of the most heavily armed vessels ever built. Admiral Clark stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Liberty. Around her, veteran officers prepared for the battle that would decide humanity's future. "Admiral," reported Captain Mike Stevens, her tactical officer, "the alien fleet is approaching. They're maintaining perfect formation." "Of course they are," Admiral Clark replied. "They fight like they're on parade." "Captain Turner, is your squadron ready?" Captain Beth Turner, now an admiral herself, commanded a squadron of 12 ships, including her old vessel, the Pathfinder. "Ready and waiting, Admiral." "Captain Foster, how are your new ships performing?" Captain Alan Foster grinned from his command chair. "The UE's Vengeance and her sister ships are hungry for a fight, Admiral." Admiral Clark looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were beautiful and elegant, moving with precision that seemed almost like art. The human ships were blocky, ugly, and covered with armor and weapons. They looked like what they were, machines built for war. "All ships, this is Admiral Clark," she transmitted to the fleet. "Remember what we learned from the previous engagements. Their energy weapons can't penetrate our armor. Our kinetic weapons go right through their shields. Stay aggressive, keep moving, and don't give them time to adapt." Admiral Zexthera opened a communication channel to the human fleet. His image appeared on screens throughout the human fleet, tall, elegant, with skin that seemed to glow with inner light. "Human Admiral," he said in a voice like music, "I am Admiral Zexthera of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You have proven surprisingly capable in your previous encounters with our forces. However, this ends now. Surrender your fleet, and we will. Allow your species to return to your homeworld in peace." Admiral Clark's reply was broadcast on all frequencies. "Admiral Zexthera, I am Admiral Susan Clark of the United Earth Space Force. You are in human space without permission. Leave now, or we will force you to leave." Admiral Zexthera looked genuinely puzzled. "Admiral Clark, you cannot possibly believe that 60 ships can defeat 50 vessels of the Imperial fleet. We are offering you a chance to avoid unnecessary bloodshed." "Admiral," Admiral Clark replied, "you've made the same mistake everyone makes when they first meet humans. You assume that because our technology looks primitive, we don't know how to use it." The battle began when Captain Turner's squadron opened fire from long range. The Pathfinder and her sister ships launched hundreds of missiles at the Zephyrian formation. Admiral Zexthera watched the primitive projectiles approach and smiled. Raise shields, prepare point defense systems. But human missiles were not ordinary weapons. Each one carried multiple warheads that separated just before impact. Instead of facing hundreds of missiles, the Zephyrian ships suddenly faced thousands of smaller projectiles coming from every direction. The Zephyrian point defense systems, designed to stop a few precision attacks, were overwhelmed. Dozens of warheads detonated against their shields, creating electromagnetic pulses that disrupted their electronics. "Impossible," Admiral Zexthera shouted. "How can they coordinate so many projectiles?" The answer was simple, but devastating. Humans had been fighting wars with multiple weapons for centuries. They understood combined arms tactics, overwhelming firepower, and the principle that if some firepower is good, more firepower is better. As the Zephyrian ships staggered under the missile barrage, Captain Foster's heavy assault squadron charged forward. The UE's Vengeance led 20 of the most heavily armored ships humans had ever built. "All ships, maximum rate of fire," Captain Foster ordered. "Hit them with everything we have." The human heavy ships opened fire with their main weapons, railguns, that fired projectiles at incredible speeds, mass drivers that hurled chunks of metal the size of cars, particle beam weapons that could cut through steel like butter. The Zephyrian ships tried to respond with their energy weapons, but they faced a problem they had never encountered before. The human ships were designed to absorb punishment and keep fighting. Energy beams that should have disabled human vessels were absorbed by layers of armor plating. Weapons that could destroy most ships merely scorched the thick hulls of the human warships. "Admiral," reported the Zephyrian tactical officer, "our weapons are having minimal effect. The human ships are too heavily armored." "Concentrate fire on individual targets," Admiral Zexthyra ordered. "Focus all weapons on single ships." But the humans had anticipated this tactic. As soon as Zephyrian ships concentrated their fire, other human vessels would move to protect the targeted ship. It was a defensive strategy that required coordination and trust, two things humans had learned through centuries of fighting alongside each other. Meanwhile, the human weapons were tearing through the Zephyrian fleet. Their kinetic weapons, dismissed as primitive, punched through advanced alien hulls like they were made of paper. Their missiles, considered crude by alien standards, delivered devastating explosions that crippled entire ships. Admiral Zexthyra watched in growing horror as his beautiful fleet was systematically destroyed. Ships that had served the Empire for centuries were broken apart by human firepower. Crews that had never known defeat were dying in the cold of space. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Clark's image appeared on the Zephyrian flagship's screen. Behind her, the human fleet continued its relentless attack. "Admiral Zexthyra, I'm offering you the same choice you offered me. Surrender now, and we'll allow your surviving ships to leave." Admiral Zexthyra looked at his tactical display. Of his 50 ships, only 20 remained combat effective. The human fleet had lost only 3 vessels, and those were only lightly damaged. "How?" he asked. "How did you defeat the Imperial fleet?" "Because we understand something you forgot," Admiral Clark replied. "War isn't about having the most advanced weapons. It's about using whatever weapons you have more effectively than your enemy uses theirs." Admiral Zexthyra made the hardest decision of his life. "All ships cease fire. We surrender." The space around Jupiter fell silent except for the hum of engines and the crackle of damaged electronics. The greatest fleet in Zephyrian history had been defeated by humans using weapons the aliens considered primitive. 3 weeks later, Admiral Clark and Admiral Zexthyra met aboard a neutral space station to negotiate a formal peace treaty. Also present was Ambassador Victoria Webb, Earth's first interstellar diplomat. "Admiral Zexthyra," Admiral Clark said, "we don't want to be your enemies. But we also won't accept being treated as children." The Zephyrian admiral nodded slowly. He had learned to respect human military capability, even if he didn't understand it. "What do you want?" he asked. "Recognition," Ambassador Webb replied. "We want the right to explore space freely and defend ourselves if attacked. In return, we offer friendship and cooperation with any species that treats us as equals." Admiral Zexthyra thought about the battle he had just lost. The humans had shown mercy when they could have destroyed his entire fleet. That suggested they were capable of both war and peace. "I will recommend to the High Council that humans be granted full recognition as a spacefaring species," he said. "And I will suggest that the Zephyrian Empire would benefit from an alliance with Earth." 6 months later, the galaxy had changed completely. Human ships patrolled space that had once been forbidden to them. Other alien species, hearing about the human victories over the Zephyrian Empire, began reaching out to establish diplomatic relations. Commander Veltar, now fully recovered from his injuries, served as a liaison officer aboard Admiral Turner's flagship. He had become fascinated by human military thinking and was writing a book about their approach to warfare. "Admiral Turner," he said one day, as they watched human and Zephyrian ships conducting joint training exercises, "I have a question that has puzzled me for months." "What's that, Commander?" "Your species has such capacity for violence, yet you also show great mercy. You could have destroyed our fleets completely, but you chose not to. Why?" Admiral Turner thought for a moment. "Because we learned something important from fighting each other for so long. The goal of war should be peace. If you destroy your enemies completely, you can never turn them into friends." Veltar nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is why you succeeded where we failed. We fought to dominate. You fought to survive and protect your freedom." As the two officers watched the mixed fleet maneuver through space, both knew that the galaxy would never be T.